What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about the Winnipeg Jets and some of the things that they may look to do at the trade deadline. If we look at Winnipeg's lineup, they've got a pretty deep team in terms of depth. You can insert Kyle Connor where Alex Iafallo is and then, exchange him out for Axel Johnson-Fialbi. Of course, Kyle Connor is hurt right now, but he'll be back in, roughly 3 to 4 weeks at this point at the time of making this video. That's going to be a pretty big shot in the arm for the Winnipeg Jets, getting back their best scorer, their best finisher on a team that is lacking finish. But at the trade deadline, a bigger boost, I think, would be getting a number 2 centerman, a true number 2 centerman. As much as I love Vlad Namestnikov, he's probably a guy that you want in your top 9. Extremely useful, having an incredible season this year, on pace for a 50-plus point season. But having him on the 4th line would just be that much more scarier for this Winnipeg team if they could go out and get a legit number 2 centerman. So we're going to talk about that in this video. We're going to talk about 3 players that I could maybe see the Winnipeg Jets going after, or at least kicking tires on heading into the trade deadline. First up on the list, we're going to be talking about the Philadelphia Flyers centerman Sean Couturier. So far through 38 games, Couturier has 10 goals, 17 assists for 27 points. Couturier is a big centerman. He's 6'4", comes in at 210 pounds. He is 31 years old, so a little bit older on that end, but he is a guy that can still really do it all. I mean, he can score goals, he can make plays, he can drive the net, but he can also play as a shutdown centerman. I mean, he's really responsible defensively, and I mean, hey, he's a Selke winner back in 2020. I know obviously Sean Couturier has gone through some health issues. He didn't play the entire calendar year last season, didn't play at all, so that's obviously a worry. Injuries have been kind of plaguing him his entire career, but this year he has come back from injury. Seems like he's benefited from the rest, and he's played really great for Philadelphia, and he's a big reason why the Flyers haven't been living in the basement this year. But coming into the year, I thought they were going to be one of the league's worst teams, and they've actually done really well. They've exceeded expectations for sure, and he's a big reason for that. Now, while Couturier is a very good player, there is some scary stuff with him here, as obviously he is injury prone. We've talked about that before, didn't play last season, but what's even scarier is his contract in terms of length and size. I mean, he's got a deal up until the end of the 2029-2030 season. He's got a full no move clause, so that will obviously have to get waived, and to boot with that, he has a cap hit of $7.75 million per season. Acquiring him this year would make a lot of sense for Winnipeg, as they want to go on that run, but in the future it is going to be pretty expensive on the books, and for a guy that hasn't proved himself to be consistently healthy, as that has plagued him really his entire career, it's kind of scary to commit that much money and assets into. With that said, I think that Winnipeg can go ahead and probably clear cap down the line. I mean, Mason Appleton, likely expendable in the future. Neil Pionk is a guy that can probably be moved pretty easily if you need to do that, if you need to clear room for Gabe Vilardi, Cole Perfetti, and Dylan Sandberg's deals, and list goes on. Alex Iafallo, Nate Schmidt, all those guys can probably be moved, and the team wouldn't hurt that much from it. But Sean Couturier would definitely help Winnipeg. Now, is Winnipeg comfortable with the cap hit and the commitment down the line? I'm not so sure, and that's one thing that I can see, maybe deferring them from acquiring Sean Couturier. Next up on the list here, we are going to talk about Casey Mittelstadt from the Buffalo Sabres. Mittelstadt is really interesting because he's a guy that was drafted in the top 10 in his draft class, and a lot of people kind of wrote him off. I mean, he wasn't staying healthy, he just wasn't effective when healthy, and he just wasn't living up to that top 10 pick potential. Now, last season, he played a full 82 games for Buffalo, and he put up 59 points, breaking out, shattering all of his career highs. And now this season, continuing right where he left off, playing 41 games up to this point, 11 goals, 24 assists for 35 points. It's been lights out for Buffalo this year, and I think that Buffalo may look to move him because I think a lot of teams would be willing to pay, pretty big packages for Casey Mittelstadt, considering how well he's playing and considering how low his cap hit is. We'll talk about that in just a second. And why not Winnipeg? I think that Winnipeg would be all over this. Mittelstadt is in the last year of his contract. He will be an RFA after the season, but he only makes $2.5 million against the cap this year, and that's really attractive for really any team because they can afford him. If they got the assets to do it, which Winnipeg does, and some other teams may, then absolutely Casey Mittelstadt would be a very attractive option. This also allows Winnipeg, if they were to acquire him, to go out and probably go after a right-hand shot defenseman. I would believe they'd like to add into the top 4, as well as the defense core has played this season. You probably want to upgrade that position and, have as much depth as possible going into the playoffs, so it makes total sense. Winnipeg is in win-now mode, and I expect them to be making some big swings this year. I really like the idea of Casey Mittelstadt playing on the line with a guy like maybe Nikolai Ehlers or Cole Perfetti. I think both of those guys together could play really well. I think Mittelstadt Middlestat can play with anybody in that top 6. I think that he'd be a great fit. He's going to, create plays, make space. I think he'd be a great option for Winnipeg offensively. Defensively, maybe he's not the strongest player of all time or anything like that, but this is a team that's structured so defensively where I don't think it's going to matter too much. Winnipeg's system is, very good. They're one of the best defensive teams in the NHL this year. They do not allow really anything 5-on-5, so it would be fun to see Casey Middlestat as a Jet. I think that he'd fit in perfect. Now, next up on the list, we're going to be talking about Claude Giroux from the Ottawa Senators. Giroux is so fascinating to me. He's one of my favorite players of all time, actually. 35 years old right now, and he's still putting up very respectable numbers. 36 games played, he's got 32 points, and he doesn't look like he's lost a step at all. He still looks like, the young player that we saw in Philadelphia for years, and I really, really like the idea of Winnipeg going out and getting Claude Giroux. The Senators are a mess. They are going to be selling. I wonder if the Jets start to kick tires on him. He's definitely more of a playmaker at this point in his career. I don't know if he's going to put up 35 goals like he did last season. Probably not, unless he goes on some crazy tear, just the 10 this year. But he has been great his entire career, just very consistent, and I think that he'd be such a calming presence there on that second line. He's so dangerous offensively. He can make plays. He's going to get guys in scoring position. I'm just salivating talking about it, thinking of him and Kyle Connor playing together. Oh my god, that would be insane. And then you could have Cole Perfetti on that line too. You can really mix and match the top 6 as much as you'd like. There's really no bad options if you bring in a guy like Claude Giroux. It reminds me a lot of, the Paul Stastny acquisition that Winnipeg made in 17-18, maybe even better, to be totally honest with you. Giroux's cap hit also isn't really that bad, $6.5 million for this season and next season, as he does have 1 year remaining on his contract after this season. But the one thing that is worrisome is that he has a no-move clause, and you're thinking, okay, yeah, well, players will move their no-move clauses to go win a cup, and sure, they will, but the problem here is that Claude Giroux is from Ontario. He went into free agency and he signed with the Ottawa Senators because he is from Ontario. He wants to play where he grew up. He wants to be back at home. Does he care about winning a cup more than he cares about being at home? That is going to be the question here, and we'd have to see what would happen there. I don't know. I think that Ottawa should look into trading him, maybe see what his options are, but if he doesn't want to leave home, then he's just simply not going to leave home. I would love Claude Giroux a lot. He's like my dream right now. He's my white whale in my head for Winnipeg to acquire, one of my favorite players of all time, and I think that he would push the Jets over the edge big time. And I don't know, just very excited even talking about it. Not going to get my hopes up for this one, but I think this would be the best option for Winnipeg at the trade deadline. I think that he would have the most impact in terms of, all over the board. I think that he would just impact Winnipeg so positively, and I don't know. I don't see a better fit than this. But with that said, guys, I am going to hop on out of here. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, leave a comment down below what you guys thought about the video. Let me know some trade packages down below that you would want to give up for, any of these 3 guys, any other guys in the league. I want to hear all your trade speculation stuff. Let's see it. Leave it down below. But that is all. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Go Jets, go! Bye-bye.